Hello, and we are live. Welcome to this gratitude series, My Journey Home Through the Stars. Hello to everyone here live, and thank you for catching the replay. And thank you, Suzanne, for being my guest here today and having me host you. It's a real honor.
Well, thank you for all your gratitude.
Yay. So welcome again to everyone. This is going to be a really fun conversation. I cannot wait to dig into this with Suzanne. And there will be an opportunity for a few questions at the end. We're going to be running for about half an hour or so, and then have a few questions from there to wrap up. So first, a little bit more about Suzanne. Suzanne is a Libra Sun, Virgo Moon, and a Taurus rising. Just for you astro buffs, so you can know a little bit more about what makes her tick and how she operates. And for the human design people, Suzanne is a 1/4 emotional generator. So that's why Suzanne feels so damn good to be around, because she's doing work that she loves and she is on fire. We feel it. For generators that are doing their purpose work, there's no better feeling in the world. So thank you for that service alone, Suzanne. I found Suzanne last year at the start of COVID during one of her astrology summits. I was sucking up all the divine downloads from your speakers, and I just had to reach out for a personal reading. A few months of astro coaching later, and I had my first spiritual awakening through a connection made thanks to Suzanne with Shayla Sananda and the summit that she had at the time that aired about a year ago. Suzanne, you met me where I was at, which was a weird time in my life. It was pre-awakening, right? I was very much in my head. I was overwhelmingly curious and still asleep. You helped me through some really tough situations and gave me clarity where it was really needed. Antonio.
We're not naming names, but
you've guided me in the creation of this mini-series, and also as I expand on my own journey through being a student of astrology. Your teachings are always highly informational, and the material is easy to digest and comprehend. I've built a good foundation in astrology, but also, maybe most importantly, is that I know to consider that as astrologers, we need to be conscious of people and what we learn about them in seeing their astrology chart. And that's something that's really big for you, is to really respect that, and to honor them and to not take this lightly. It's almost a responsibility, dare I say. Just when we see their hearts and their souls. And I think this might be what you enjoy most, assisting people with finding their soul again through astrology, with remembering who they are. I consider you a teacher, a mentor, and a friend. You've been a rock and a guiding light for me this past year, and it's always exactly what I need to hear when you remind me of how far I've come. And when I see you through my third eye, it is the most beautiful vision. You have your arms and your head back, and there's these stars and galaxies and planets pouring through your heart endlessly. And I hope that you see that now too. It's really beautiful. So thank you for your energy, your light, your passion, and your power. You write like a rock star, and I truly appreciate you in my life. Now, my overall intention for this gratitude series, we're kicking off today. Today is day one, guest one, is to honor the people that have helped me over the last year. The teachers and the mentors, Suzanne, of course, being one of them. However, in preparation for this and feeling into the energy of what is being created here, I can see that it's actually a lot bigger than that intention. It's actually a timely reminder that gratitude is key at this time in this world. And in fact, in life, our teachers are difficult people and difficult situations. And when we grapple with these challenges, it's easy to feel disempowered. That's been a theme for me through my life, is this sense of disempowerment. But as soon as we see the difficulty that we're experiencing as a teacher and we find gratitude for the teacher, we bring ourselves back into alignment and back into our power. And that's what this is about now. So my intention today is to make Suzanne feel amazing, warm and inspire those that are watching, and to do my best to stick to 30 minutes. My ruling planet is Jupiter, and I like everything to go bigger. So we'll do our very best. Bigger, bigger, bigger.
But Nick,
So now we'll hop
your Jupiter's in Capricorn, so you know how to hold space and structure things.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. So, Suzanne, you learned fairly early on that helping people figure out their own purpose, passion, and power was your passion. There's a lot of people who really want to find out and do their purpose work now, but they don't have a lot of clarity around what that might look like. And this can be really disheartening and bring up a lot of fear and all of that fun shadow work. What advice would you have for people that are seeking these kinds of answers, and how can astrology help them?
Oh, that little small question, that easily answered question. It's always challenging to find our truth and to really become convinced that it is the right way. We're always going to have people that don't have our best interests at heart or don't know how to support us, even if they have our best interests at heart. So a lot of the times, especially I think for people that feel like their path isn't maybe in the mainstream, there's going to be a sense of isolation. There's going to be, it's kind of a classic, almost cliche thing on a spiritual path. You're going to go through a dark night of the soul. Unfortunately, that's not a 12-hour night. For people that have been through it, let's say your dark night involves Pluto going back and forth over a very sensitive planet in your chart, and it just happens to be in the path of Pluto doing it 5 times. Your dark night of the soul could be on and off for 19 months. This just is an invitation to go deeper and to find your truth and to find your real support. We're not always going to get it where we would like to find it. We're not always going to get it from a partner or a family member or even our best friends. They might want to support us, but they're busy too. And this is always the case. And I really do believe that in the last year and a half, during this crazy time of living through a global pandemic and lockdowns and restrictions and fears and misinformation, and knowing that we're never really going to get the truth, I don't even know if there is like a truth around this. It's just, we can always, and this is true for anything, we can look at it at face value and we can focus on the fear that it brings up in us, or we can really start to understand that fear, as you were saying, that fear is just triggering our shadow. And in doing this, it's going to elicit the shadow to come up and to come out of the darkness and out of hiding. And it's once we really choose to say, you know, this is just a side of my psyche. This isn't some, scary monster or bugaboo or anything like that. It's just a projection of my own fears, my traumas, my doubts, where I've been shamed and bullied. And when we can create a beautiful sacred space for it, whether we do it on our own or with a teacher, a mentor, a guide, an astrologer, an energy worker, a shamanic practitioner, it doesn't really matter as long as you have that connection. You could do it on your own with the divine or teachers that are not in bodily form anymore. You need trust. You need a willingness. You need courage. And you just have to want something so much that it becomes your vision quest. Whether you go out in the desert or the mountains and give up food and drink or Sundance for 3 days, it doesn't have to be an extreme thing like that. It could just be a vision quest in that you set your heart on something and you say, if I don't do this, I don't know if my life is worth living. And when you put it like that, it's almost required of you to just go after it. And we're all going to, make progress and then slip up and make more progress and different progress. And it's the journey. And when we understand that that's a journey that doesn't necessarily have a destination point, the journey is what we're doing. It is the very work of looking at our shadow, stepping into our willingness, finding our courage. That work, that effort is what turns us into the us that we want to become to do the work. So it's a little tricky. On the one hand, I want to be an astrologer. I want to be a professional ice skater, whatever it is. That's the thing. But the person that you've got to become to be that shadow work, that inner journey is what's going to get you there. And that's the value. And I'm not sure if I've answered your question, but
you have
definitely danced around the whole thing.
No, you've answered it beautifully. I love how you put vision quest. I'm getting a little bit of feedback now, which is interesting. I'm just going to check. I had a comment that no sound, screen frozen. Is everyone who's tuning in, are we okay? You can see us fine?
Yeah, I was hearing a little static, but it seemed like it was on your end. But, we just always project, don't we?
Indeed. So, so I love how you put it as vision quest and this trust and this willingness and this courage. That's it. Okay, yeah, we're good. Yeah, someone said that we're fine, which is awesome. So yeah, it is a vision quest, and it's not a 12-hour dark night of the soul, as you say. I love how I love how you've put everything in perspective, because I think it's a lifelong journey, but sometimes are more transformational than others. And that gap from going, I want something different, to this is what I want, and then everything in between is that journey. And that's where all of the depth and the richness and the wisdom comes from, that you need to be that thing that you want to become. So there's really no fast tracking anything, and it all comes in perfect time. For someone who wants everything now, that's a big lesson I've learned, and it saved me a lot of stress.
Even if you don't like that timing, that's the timing, that's, and we all know it, right? Consciously, we're ready. We're all geared up. We got the car packed, dogs in the kennel. We're ready to go. Right?
Yeah.
But the car doesn't start.
We're ready.
The battery's dead. We can't get the garage door open. There's an accident on the freeway. We've done everything right?
Yeah.
That's not us.
Yeah. That's such a good way to put it. Thank you. So you speak of mastering self-love, and I think that's a really interesting way to put it. I like it. Can you please expand on how you teach this, and a bit about your own journey of self-love?
Well, my own journey to self-love would require the entire 8 days that you're hosting this series. So maybe we'll take a pass on that and just trust that it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I'm no different from anybody else. I had a lot of love and I had a lot of challenges, and I just had to choose love. And I have to keep choosing love. I get to keep choosing love because, right, Nick, it's always a choice. We always are at a crossroads, even when we're feeling all blissed out and, out there in the spheres and everything. We still always are choosing. Are we going to stay here? Do we come back? What's blocking my heart? People do little things, even just silly things, like just standing in a line somewhere. People bump into you, cut ahead of you, whatever. We have these instinctive ways of reacting. And I think that the self-love comes from an awareness that we're always in flux. Things aren't rigid. We think I'm this, you're that, our relationship is this, but nothing is static. Everything is constantly in a flux. And we're influencing that. And so how do we influence that? Do we do it with our mind? Do we do it with our words? That goes into the mix. But the way we do it is with really going deep in here and getting into what our intention is. Because the intention is what sets up everything. And the more you can not only be in your intention, but then you can start to marry your intention with your actions, right? When you start to come into coherence. Because a lot of times we want something, but we're not acting like it, or we're acting like it, but we have this unconscious old tape playing that's like just screwing it up. It's like when on your computer, you just get the spinning wheel and you can't get out of it. You don't want to. You want to launch that program, but there's something in the operating system that isn't right. It's usually the classic too many tabs open, and that's true for us too. What does that mean to have too many tabs open? It means our energy is too scattered. We're trying to do this, we're trying to do that, and we also are doing that, and da, 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 da. You're not. There's no way you can get in coherence when there's too many things happening. So how do I teach it? I don't teach it. You can't teach that. You can't teach that. I can, and I hope I model it. And when I work with people, and you know this, we do exercises. I ask for help and I ask for guidance, and I have some ideas from my wonderful teachers to guide you to your own heart center, your own inner child who's still very, very much alive inside of you. Whether you feel like you've stepped out of your childhood 15 years ago or 60 years ago, it's the same. If you haven't integrated that child and his wounds into the you now, there are always going to be unconscious triggers for you. So we don't teach it, we find it. We set intentions and we keep making the efforts. And then we practice. We practice love. And really coming back to your theme here, we practice gratitude. Because when we can't get to self-love, then we just be in gratitude. Because we can be in gratitude for what's already here. That's almost the easy way. And I don't think gratitude's easy, not to sincerely feel it, but to be grateful for, having a well-functioning body and being healthy and having a loving family and a comfortable home. That's easy to give gratitude for. How about to give gratitude for your challenges and mean it? How about giving gratitude for that beautiful, loving partner who hasn't quite shown up yet? This is how we continue to work. And gratitude is something that you never finish. You're never done. You've never really fully mastered it. We're always students of it.
Yeah. Beautifully put. And, this concept of gratitude is really, it's only been something that I've come to embrace fully and embody in the last year in this journey of mine as I've found my own heart. And when I think about how the concept of gratitude prior to that, there was some apathy. And I think it's because I numbed out so much, it was just like not even a thing. But, and sometimes, over the last year and the many dark nights of the soul, even if it's hard to find gratitude in the moment, we can still find some compassion for ourselves. And they're bridges to bring us back into alignment. It's beautifully put. So you mentioned your own teachers and mentors. Is there anyone in particular that has had strong influence to you throughout your life? And how did they help and guide you?
Oh, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be as reasonably sane as I am, as healthy and happy as I am. I consider one of my greatest blessings the teachers that I've had, and I mean that with just so much sincerity. I've been so lucky. I mean, And of course, there's all kinds of teachers, right? There's the people that have been really challenging for you, that have forced you to look at things a certain way. One of the best teachers I ever had in college was a journalism professor who hated my writing. He ripped it apart. I'd never had anybody be so brutal. And he made me a better writer. Of course, my real astrology teacher who left the...
Oh, I stopped hearing you. Why? Oh, hold on. I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Hold on. Very odd.
Now,
oh, we're back.
I think
Sorry, you went silent for a minute.
Over to a different microphone. Did you hear me okay?
I can hear you, Nicola, but I can't hear her. Oh, okay, good. So it was perfect. I thought like my internet dropped out or something. Thanks, Ruby. You're back. We're all back. Okay.
And can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Well, I was just talking about my longtime astrology teacher and my first therapist who and whatever she got into, we got into. She got into hypnosis. We got into hypnosis. She got into this consciousness program that eventually came to be called Technologies for Living. It was some of the very, very early quantum physics stuff in the 1980s. We went where she went. So she and I became very close friends. And she was my rock. She was always there to talk about astrological things, even though she stopped really doing astrology, even though she's one of the best astrologers I've ever known. But it helped me with understanding how to work with people and what my role might be. She taught me so much humility and sensitivity and how to work with charts. And I just feel like I sponged in every word she said, because I would say things back to her 30 years later. And she'd be like, where'd you hear that? I'd go, you? I just feel like everything she said was the most precious gem. And I feel like I just somehow recorded it in my mind. Yeah. And I had another really, really very special, wonderful teacher. Funnily, their birthdays were almost exactly 180 degrees apart.
Oh, wow.
My astrology teacher, Carrie, was the last day of Capricorn, and my other wonderful, wonderful teacher and mentor was the second to last day of Cancer. So,
wow.
And it's just such a perfect full circle for me.
Yeah, yeah.
But also just everybody that I've worked with. I was just today watching an old YouTube recording of Ram Dass giving a talk, and I just remembered being at a few retreats with him back in the 1990s. One was an 8-day retreat that was just life-changing. And the Buddhist teachings that I've had, and the long retreats and the short retreats, and the work I've done with shamans in mostly Ecuador and Peru, and in the mountains and in the jungle, and just really being taken on very profound journeys of surrender and just being allowed to have the small ego be extinguished, which, make no mistake, is terrifying, absolutely, utterly horrifying. No matter how prepared you think you are, you're like, bring it. At that moment of truth, you are screaming and fighting, and no, I want the ego. And I mean, just that experience alone is one of the greatest teachings. And just all my friends and clients, students, and people walking the path, because we're just really, like, back to Ram Dass. He has so many great lines that I just love and they're just in my heart. But one of my favorite ones is just, we're all just walking each other home. So everyone's a teacher.
Yeah.
Beautifully put. I didn't know that was Ram Dass.
Well, he might have been quoting someone else, but I associate it with him.
Yeah, it's true. You know, it's so beautiful, and on a micro and the largest macro scale you can think of. Indeed. And I was laughing because I remembered in a session with Yukia, who's later on in this series, we were talking about like the raw core authentic self, and I said, I am so ready for that. And then I went into like one of the most challenging dark nights of the soul. And then I watched the video back and I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh,
Yeah, the classic. Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. That's amazing. So funny. Checking the time here. We're going pretty well. All right. So, this has been a pretty crazy year astrologically, and there's a few people that talk about it, us going into the eye of the storm at the moment, and we're approaching this third Saturn Uranus square. And I was wondering if you could touch on this, what this might feel like, and then whatever else you feel is relevant to share.
Well, that's a biggie for this year. Last year, in 2020, one of the kind of hallmarks, astrologically speaking, was that cluster of Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter together in Capricorn. And a lot of people, and I do think rightly, associated that with, I'm just looking up one aspect, it was at 7, with the virus. Pluto does rule viruses, but it was a three-way conjunction that hadn't taken place since the 1500s. It was very unusual, very rare, and a lot of prognosticators had been saying for a few years now, we don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be big. It's going to be like nothing we've ever seen, and that was their prediction for 2020. 2021 has a few kind of astrological signatures, and one of them is what you just said, Nick, the Saturn and Uranus square that's happening 3 times. Why? Because planets retrograde, and so they're going to meet again, you know, when they either in reverse or when they come back around. The first one was in February, and that was at around 7 degrees of fixed signs, and I'll tell you which in a moment. And then again, it was in June 14th, and the last one, which is going to be kind of the culmination, or, you know, I always think of the first one as the holy shit moment. The second one is, oh, okay, I think I get it. I think I understand what I'm supposed to learn. Yeah. And the third one is your final exam. Did you know? Did you get it? And that's the time. So here's what's interesting about that square. A number of things are interesting. First of all, they are the 2 rulers of the sign of Aquarius. Saturn is the ruler, the Hellenistic ruler, if you will. Before they had a telescope, they could only work with the planets they could see. And so they had to, you know, assign multiple rulerships to the different, or affinities to the different planets. Then when we were able to see beyond Saturn, when we discovered Uranus and Neptune and Pluto, and forget the, you know, trans-Neptunian things, we're just talking the basic things in our solar system. Then those 3 new planets were given a rulership of a sign too. But you don't get rid of Saturn for Aquarius. You don't get rid of Jupiter for Pisces, and you sure as heck don't get rid of Mars for Scorpio. So they have 2 rulers. You know, we say the ancient and the modern, and they kind of represent different qualities of each sign. So these are the 2 planets that rule Aquarius. And Aquarius is both, it's a very interesting sign. It's the sign you cannot ever put in a category. Mm-hmm. Part of the nature of Aquarius, you know, it's just like each one that comes along is a one of a kind. But if there are certain things that you can say, it has a real affinity for the past and tradition and history and mythology and archaeology and things like that. That's the Saturn part. The modern side of Aquarius, which is represented by Uranus, is the very modern and forward-thinking and avant-garde and technological, and everything technological, even to things that seem very old-timey to us, right? Like telephones and fax machines and things like that. Not just the internet and the metaverse and things like that, but what's still coming up on the horizon. This is all Uranian territory. So Saturn is the old and the traditional, and it's also the ruler of Capricorn, which is what most people associate Saturnian energy with. It wants to preserve, wants to hang on to old systems. It wants structure. Hey, this has always worked. We got to keep it. The Aquarian side says, why? It's not really working. It used to work. That was then, and this is now. And this is exactly what we've been seeing on, I think, every level, from the very macro, meaning how do governments work? How do other institutions like education and healthcare and financial and banking, transportation, how are these things changing since COVID? Not coincidentally, one major astrological signature of a year is begetting this next thing. Some people think we're in the age of Aquarius. I say we're in a lowercase Aquarian age. My understanding of it is the age of Aquarius isn't just like a hippie vibe, like a kumbaya thing. It's actually an astronomical epoch that we're not quite in yet. And things I've read place it somewhere from about 100 years from now to maybe 500 years from now. You can let the astronomical geeks argue that one out. But here's the thing. I think the energy of Aquarius is very palpable. I think so many people are tapping into it now. So many of our social justice movements, that have been gaining so much ground, whether it's about race issues or gender issues or just pay equality for people, just respect, bullying. These are Aquarian themes. And it doesn't matter if we're among the group that's rising up. We're humans, and so by definition, we're part of it. We just are. And this is part of the Aquarius thing. So here we've got these two different sides. Hang on to the old, lean into the new, clashing 3 times this year. And what's unique about that? Saturn, think about the paradox here. Saturn, the old guard, is right now in the sign of Aquarius. Uranus, which is everything forward and new, is in Taurus, which is very earthy and earthbound and embodied and physical. And I'm a Taurus rising, and I love Tauruses, but they don't move fast. They're not famous for embracing change. They like to hang on. Hang on, I'm just going to have one more cup of coffee and a dessert, and then that's Taurus energy. Let's just sit. Let's change the world tomorrow. Right now, we've got this beautiful plate of food. We've got these clashing urges. So that's the macro level. What's happening in you? What is getting triggered in your own chart? Because that's what a transit in the sky does. It activates something in your natal chart. So they've been moving back and forth between about 7 degrees of these signs of Aquarius and Taurus. They got a little farther up, and then they retrograded. And then this third and final square, which will be on Christmas Eve, maybe in Australia, it's Christmas Day. Okay. It's December 24th, 25th. They are going to clash again at 11 degrees of these signs. So what your invitation or your homework or your opportunity to do is look at your own chart. Where have these planets been crossing back and forth since last February? What in you, and it doesn't have to be about your political beliefs or your what you do to take care of your health or how you educate your children. You don't have to. It's not about that. It's what in you are you still clinging to? What old ways? What old structures? What old beliefs? Limiting beliefs? What old kind of reflexive patterns are you still leaning into, but are really ready to release?
Yeah.
What's the urge in you to move into something new? And with the planet of slow and steady and safe and cautious Saturn, and the planet of absolute and utter reckless, impulsive Uranus, which represents Silicon Valley. And if you think about Facebook's famous motto, move fast and break things, that is the Uranian way. Saturn is the exact opposite. What happens when the irresistible force meets the immovable object? Uranus and Saturn. What happens inside of you? And here's the thing. You have free will. We all have free will. We get to choose what to do with this energy. But I think the only really necessary thing, that would be quote unquote necessary, is that we just be willing to look at things honestly.
Yeah. Wow. Holy moly.
Well, you asked.
That's wow, that is wow, how you put all of that is it's so easy to embody the energy of what people are going through, and it's no wonder that people are continuing to awaken droves. It's like flint, there's just sparks happening all year for people, and it's very exciting. And I want to add, it's this everything's up for review, shall we say, and this Aquarian energy that we are in, and I've heard that as well, that we're not quite in the age of Aquarius yet, but we're in the soup of it. And there's a lot, like there's been this trend, and it's been my own journey recently as well. Like, who am I? How can I show up more authentically, more myself, and stand really proudly, in a sense, and really securely in that, and not question myself, not apologize for what I think about something, or what it's just to stand up and be me. And it's that beautiful, proud, weirdo Aquarian energy that we love so much in them. Yeah. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
So my last question.
And that's another interesting distinction. And, we could talk about just that one repeating transit, for our whole time together. But Aquarius is the realm of ideas, and Taurus is embodiment. So that's another thing to think about, is how do these ideas and ideals, how can you bring them down into the body form? Because even though we are spiritual beings, and we have these pathways to ascension that are always available to us, which is wonderful, and I think it's really important to go there. But we do have bodies, and I personally don't believe that we're meant to completely ignore them. I think we're here to really honor them, and the old, your body is a temple, right? And to bring these very beautiful, high-minded, democratic in the strictest sense of the word. This is about the equality of people. This isn't like, as long as I get my needs met, I'll do this for other people. It's really about understanding that there really is no difference. And, when one person's suffering, we're all suffering. And so this is bringing it down into you and figuring out what's most important, and then embodying and walking, living your truth, like what you were just saying.
Yeah, it really is. It's this, I think that for so long, without even being consciously aware of it, at least in my own experience, we've tried to get out of our bodies because most of us have not felt good in our bodies. And so it's been this whole come around and turn around, where we realize there's something more, and then it's going, okay, and understanding the incredible gift that we've been given, and the magnitude that we carry within our entire being, and the magnificence that we are. And that leads me beautifully into your last question. And I know that your Taurus rising will love this. What do you love about being human?
I'm sorry. What do I love about?
What do you love about being human?
Everything. What don't I love? I love being human. Not only am I a Taurus rising, I have a South Moon in Taurus. I absolutely relish everything about being human. I, I love I love our minds. I love that they're limitless, that they can go anywhere. I love human imagination. I love human creativity. I love connection. I love humor. Oh my gosh. Bad puns. I live for bad puns. Right? Sensuality, animals, nature, trees in the ocean, the dolphins and the birds. I live on a golf course, and we have resident raptors that live there. And I just sit there and I watch the hawks swing in. Less frequently, we see owls and eagles, woodpeckers, jays, whitebirds, ibis, herons. I see this every day. And I know it's going to be beautiful and blissful to return to source energy. I've experienced it in this lifetime. I'm not afraid of it. It's ecstatic. But I'm sure going to miss those birds.
Thank you. I love birds too. There's something real cute and special and unique and fun about them and interesting. Any final thoughts to add before we transition into the next phase?
Before we transition?
Well, you know.
That's very Plutonian. No, this is great. Nick, you and I could just talk forever, but I think that, people have limited attention spans.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you so much. So I'll share a little bit about your the gift that you've created specifically for this as well, and then we'll go into closing the container, which will be a few minutes and quite special, a gift for you and whoever's watching. So you've created a free gift which is available to download. The link will be in the comments of this video. Give it a couple hours. The link it was working and it stopped working. Mercury retrograde, here we go. But it's called Gratitude, Surrender, and the Law of Attraction and a Micro Practice. Is there anything that you wanted to speak into about that, or will they just wait and see?
Well, they'll wait and hear. We just are presenting it as an audio so that people can, take a walk with it or do a closed eye thing. It's exactly what it says. It's just me kind of going into gratitude and how I've experienced it in ways that I think will be useful for other people. The relationship between gratitude and when you can't get to gratitude, because when we are hurt or angry or just being in our wound, vibration in our pain body, as Eckhart Tolle says, it's very hard to get to gratitude. We like being stuck, even though we say we don't. There's a lot of power at being stuck in our negativity. Gratitude is a really good way to flip the switch. And when you can't get there, surrender. And I talk a little bit about that. And then I actually take people through, if they want to participate, they can just listen. Actually, a little micro practice that my wonderful teacher that I mentioned had me do. And it's very beautiful. And I'll warn you, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It was working beautifully before, and then Mercury retrograde just, take my homework. And it will be stitched back together again shortly. So be patient. It will be. And it's about a half an hour. It's about a half an hour chat of me just thinking about the concept of gratitude and how, like I was saying a little while ago,
how the advanced version of it is really being in gratitude for things that we haven't manifested yet, and really trusting that that is the way it is.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you, Suzanne. So we've got some love in the chat and no questions, which is great because we have gone over time, which is, you know, it's been a wonderful talk. So this feels right to wrap up here. So I'm going to share something from my heart to yours, Suzanne, and to whoever is tuning in. So I invite you, Suzanne, if you feel comfortable, and those who are watching, to drop into your heart and receive this gift of a love-filled light language transmission. Nai u I ayasana a. Kiai isa nama I ayashakaya nama aya. Si ai I ayasana ma I nama a. Ki ai washana ma ki ayasapaka ayasana ka ai uanama a. Kai I asaka I ashakana ma I. Deepest gratitude to you, Suzanne. It is an honor to be shoulder to shoulder and heart to heart with you now, bringing and ringing in the new earth. I celebrate you, I celebrate humanity, and I celebrate life. Here's to life. Thank you to everyone for tuning in live or watching the replay. It has been a gift to share this experience with you all. Have a blessed morning, afternoon, or night.